In the previous video, we talked about the anthropological approach, and we talked about 5 aspects of anthropology that we can use to help us better understand culture and worldview. And the point of all this is to help us all to become culturally fluent as well as gain intercultural competency, especially when it comes to people or places or cultures that are different from our own. So in this video, we'll talk about how we might be able to apply some of these anthropological aspects to the Bible, and also maybe how we can observe something that's in the Bible. Now, here are 8 topics that I've come up with. So first topic is better Bible reading. Second topic is beware of anti-Judaism. Third topic is reading what Jesus and his disciples may have read at that time. Fourth, learning about the actual cultural values that are in the Hebrew Bible. Fifth is making room for other cultures to interpret scripture and to interpret different parts of scripture. 6, being aware of and being okay with language ambiguity and how language is translated. 7 is recognizing that much of the Hebrew Bible can be better understood through the lens of a Bedouin culture. And finally, 8 is talking about rituals and how we need to be mindful of them and to not dismiss them. So the first topic is better Bible reading. And what I mean by that is related to the idea of cultural immersion. We need to read the Bible more and more. What that means is we need to stop only reading the Bible verse by verse a day, or just a short passage a day, or even through devotionals. What I advocate is being able to set aside time, for example, in the weekend or at night for longer periods of immersing ourselves in longer passages of scripture. So take, for example, the letters of Paul, Peter, and James. Read them all in its entirety rather than just reading a small pericope or a small portion each time, or even just picking out the Bible verses that you've highlighted and meditating upon them. Because reading the whole letter gives us a better understanding of what the authors are wanting to communicate and what God is wanting to say to us today as well. Secondly, it would be good to read Genesis, for example, in its entirety. Even though it's a long process, reading it over the weekend, you'll actually gain a better understanding of what Genesis is trying to do, and a lot of the stories will make better sense because now you're able to make connections between this part of Genesis and that part of Genesis and another part of the Bible. Now, why am I advocating this? Because it's like the principle of cultural immersion. Think about going to a country, and you can either visit it or you can live in a country. So you may be visiting Mexico, Cancun, Puerto Vallarta, or any of these places, and you go visit there every year, but only for 2 weeks at a time. How well do you really get to know the culture if you're just visiting there, especially if people are serving you, especially if you're just eating their food and staying there for 2 weeks to rest and relax, and you're not really paying attention to the people? Whereas if you lived in Mexico City or lived in Cancun for a year, then you'll get to know more people, you'll get to know their culture, you'll get to know part of their language, and you'll get to know them a little bit more. And so by immersing ourselves in the Bible, when we're reading scripture in a more immersive or intentional way, we'll actually get to see how the Bible is working and how the Bible is functioning as it's telling its story from Genesis to Revelation. And instead of just reading it verse by verse, which is kind of just like visiting the Bible every once in a while and not really understanding the whole story, and we might get a big picture perhaps, but we're not really making links between this part of the Bible and that part of the Bible. So when you read scripture more and more each time, we're able to make connections between one part of scripture and another part of scripture. So another example of this would be 2 Kings 2, for example, where Elijah and Elisha, remember this is the point where Elijah is about to be taken by Yahweh, and Elisha was to begin his formal ministry as the head prophet of the kingdom of Israel. And they start off at a place called Gilgal. Then they head up to a place called Bethel, and then they head to a place called Jericho, and then they head to the Jordan River, where they cross it by parting it. So these places, Gilgal, Bethel, Jericho, Jordan River, when we're reading scripture and being immersed at it, these ones will trigger some of the key places of the Hebrew Bible in the Old Testament's key stories. So for example, Gilgal was when the people of Israel crossed with Joshua, and they set up 12 standing stones representing the 12 tribes to commemorate their crossing into the Promised Land. Bethel is the story of where Jacob he lies down and falls asleep and has this dream of this ladder going up and down, and angels are going up and down this ladder, and so he calls it Beit El, the house of God. And then Jericho, you might also be familiar with the story of Joshua telling the people to walk around Jericho, and on the seventh day blow the trumpets, and then the walls fall down. And the Jordan River, that is where Joshua parted the Jordan River and the people of Israel crossed it. And so these were places that were important and key to the people of Israel, and should be important for us as well, because we recognize that these are places where God had met and acted in powerful ways on behalf of the people. And so as a summary, stop reading only devotionals, but start reading larger chunks of scripture regularly.